Every year, thousands of travelers go missing in foreign countries. Most are found. Some are not. Tonight's three stories are about the moments right before everything goes wrong. Room 114, Prague, Czech Republic. There is a particular kind of loneliness that only exists in hotel rooms. Not the loneliness of being alone in your own space, surrounded by your own things, your own smell, your own history. This is something colder. The loneliness of a room that has held 1,000 strangers and remembers none of them. A room that is yours for 72 hours and belongs to you not at all. Most people feel it and ignore it, check their phones, turn on the TV, order room service, drown it out. Jenna didn't get that option. She was 26, traveling solo through Eastern Europe for the first time. 3 weeks, 7 cities, a backpack and a journal, and the particular confidence of someone who has traveled enough to feel safe, but not enough to know when she shouldn't. Prague was her 4th stop. She'd booked a hotel on the edge of the old city. Not a hostel. She was done with hostels after Budapest, a small independent place that had good reviews and a location that couldn't be beaten. She arrived late afternoon. The lobby was dim and narrow. The man at the desk was older, quiet, handed her a key card without much conversation. Room 114, ground floor, end of the hall. She didn't think anything of it. The room was fine. Small, clean enough. The particular, slightly stale air of a room that had been closed up for a day or two. She dropped her bag, showered, went out for dinner, came back around 10. She was tired in the good way. The way you get tired when you've walked a city for 8 hours and eaten well and had a glass of wine. She fell asleep quickly. She woke up at 2:17 a.m. She knew the time precisely because she looked at her phone the moment she opened her eyes. She didn't know why she woke up. There was no sound, no movement, nothing she could point to. Just the sudden, complete awareness of being awake at 2:17 a.m. in a hotel room in a city she didn't know. She lay still for a moment, let her eyes adjust, and then she noticed the bathroom door. She had left it open when she went to sleep. She was specific about this later. She remembered pushing it all the way open before she got into bed because she didn't like closed doors in unfamiliar rooms. It was open when she fell asleep. It was closed now. She told herself the ventilation had pushed it. Old buildings have drafts. Doors move. She was in a foreign country, alone, at 2 a.m., and her brain was looking for things to be afraid of. She got up, crossed the room, pushed the bathroom door open. Empty. Of course it was empty. She went back to bed, left the bathroom door open again, told herself to go to sleep. At 3:04 a.m., she woke up again. The bathroom door was closed. This time, she didn't move for a long time. She lay there, running through the logical explanations with the focused desperation of someone who very badly needs there to be a logical explanation. Ventilation. Old building. Warped frame. The door swings shut on its own. That's all. That's all it is. She got up again, opened the bathroom door again. This time, she put her backpack against it to hold it open. Solid, heavy, wedged against the base of the door. She got back into bed. She did not sleep. At 4:40 a.m., she heard something that she has never been able to fully explain to anyone since. Not a voice, not a footstep, not any of the things you expect to hear in a horror story. Just a sound, soft and rhythmic, and very close, coming from the other side of the bathroom door, which was closed again. Her backpack, sitting in the middle of the floor, moved neatly to one side. She grabbed her phone, her passport, her wallet. She left the room. She went to the lobby and sat in a chair under the fluorescent lights until 7 a.m. when a different staff member came on shift. She told him what had happened. He listened. His expression didn't change the way she expected it to. He didn't look skeptical or amused or concerned. He looked tired, in the particular way of someone hearing a familiar story. He moved her to a different room without asking any questions. She asked him later, when she was checking out, when she had her bag on her back and the front door in sight, whether anything had ever happened in room 114. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That room has had more early checkouts than any other room in this hotel, in 20 years. She asked him why they still rented it out. He shrugged. People always want to believe it won't happen to them. She left Prague that morning, a day earlier than planned. She still travels. But she has never, since that night, taken a ground floor room at the end of a hall. And she always sleeps with the bathroom door open. Some habits, once broken, are very hard to rebuild." Route 550, Colorado, USA. There are roads in America that feel like they exist outside of normal time. Route 550 through southwestern Colorado is one of them. They call it the $1 Million Highway, named, depending on who you ask, for the gold ore in the roadbed, or the cost of construction, or the price you'd have to pay most drivers to travel it at night. It runs through the San Juan Mountains, narrow and winding, with sheer cliff faces on one side and 1,000-foot drops on the other, and almost no guardrails anywhere. It is objectively one of the most dangerous roads in the United States. Daniel drove it in October. He was 31, driving cross-country alone. The kind of trip you take when your life has just reorganized itself in ways you didn't ask for. He'd been on the road for 5 days. He was tired, but managing. He'd driven difficult roads before. He started the 550 stretch in late afternoon, thinking he'd clear the worst of it before dark. He didn't account for how quickly the light goes in the mountains in October. By the time he was deep into the most isolated section of the route, the sky had gone from blue to purple to black in what felt like 20 minutes. He slowed down, put his headlights on full, gripped the wheel. He was about 40 minutes from the next town when he saw the figure on the road, standing on the narrow shoulder, facing his direction. A person, alone, on a road with no houses, no pullouts, no reason for anyone to be standing there on foot in the dark in October. Daniel slowed as he approached. His instinct was to keep going. Everything about the situation said keep going. But the rational part of his brain ran the math. This person was on foot on one of the most dangerous roads in the country in the dark. You don't leave someone on foot on this road in the dark. He stopped, rolled down the passenger window. It was a woman. Middle-aged, he thought, though it was hard to tell in the dark. She was wearing a light jacket, completely wrong for the temperature, which was dropping fast toward freezing. And she was carrying nothing. No bag, no phone he could see. Nothing. She looked at him through the open window. He asked if she needed a ride. She didn't answer immediately, just looked at him. And then she said, "You shouldn't stop for people on this road." He processed that for a second. "Are you okay?" he asked. She said, "There's someone in your back seat." He felt the words before he understood them. That specific physical sensation of fear, cold, immediate, starting in the chest. He looked in his rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. When he turned back to the window, the woman was gone. The shoulder of the road was empty. He had not heard footsteps. He had not seen her move. There was nowhere she could have gone in the 2 seconds he'd looked away. On one side, a cliff face, on the other a sheer drop into darkness. She was simply gone. Daniel sat on the side of that road for 10 minutes before he could make himself drive again. He told himself she'd stepped back from the window and he'd missed her in his peripheral vision. He told himself there was an explanation. He also checked the back seat 3 times before he drove, checked the footwells, checked the trunk at the next pullout, hands shaking in the beam of his phone flashlight. Nothing. Of course, nothing. He made it to the next town, checked into the first motel he found, sat on the bed with the lights on for a long time. He looked up Route 550 that night, the way you do when something has rattled you and you need context. He found what most people find when they research that road: the accident history, the geology, the history of the name. And he found something else. A local piece published in a Durango paper some years back about the folklore of the 550. About the stories that locals and long-haul drivers trade about that stretch of road, about the woman who appears on the shoulder on cold nights, the woman who, according to the stories, always says the same thing: there's someone in your back seat. Whether she is a warning or something else entirely, the stories don't agree. Daniel doesn't drive at night anymore if he can help it, and he has never gone back to Colorado. Bali, Indonesia. Everyone who travels to Bali gets told the same things. Respect the temples. Don't point your feet at sacred objects. Accept offerings graciously. Be careful after dark in the rice fields. And if a local tells you not to go somewhere, don't go. Maya had heard all of it. She was 29, experienced traveler. Southeast Asia on her own for 6 weeks. She knew the rules. She respected them. She was not the kind of tourist who rolls their eyes at local customs and does whatever they want anyway. She made one mistake. She trusted the wrong person. His name was, or he said it was, Wayan, which is an extremely common Balinese name, the traditional name given to firstborn children, so there is essentially no way to trace him. He found her outside her guest house on her second day in Ubud, offering private tours in excellent English at prices well below the official tour operators. She checked his reviews. He had a worn laminated card with handwritten testimonials, the kind of thing that is very easy to fake and that she wanted to believe was real. She hired him for a full day. The first half of the day was perfect. He was knowledgeable and warm, took her to a temple ceremony she would never have found on her own, knew everyone at the warongs where they stopped for lunch, explained things about Balinese Hinduism with a depth and obvious personal investment that made her feel like she was actually understanding the place rather than just moving through it. She trusted him completely by early afternoon. That was when he suggested the detour. There was a temple, he said, off the usual routes. A very old one, not on any of the tourist maps. Sacred, very sacred, but he had permission to bring visitors because of his family's connection to the site. She would be the only tourist who'd seen it this season, he said. She should have registered the pressure in that sentence, the particular way it was designed to appeal to exactly the kind of traveler she was, the one who wants the real experience, the off-the-path experience, the story no one else has. She said yes. They drove for 40 minutes on roads that got progressively narrower. The light was changing, late afternoon gold going amber, shadows lengthening across the rice terraces. She was taking photos, still charmed, still trusting. Then Wayan stopped the scooter, said they had to walk the last section. They walked for maybe 15 minutes through dense tree cover, the path barely visible. And then it opened up into a clearing. There was no temple. There was a structure. Old stone, half consumed by tree roots, clearly not maintained or visited. Around it, a series of offerings that looked very recent. Flowers still fresh, incense still burning. And standing at the far edge of the clearing, with their backs to her, 3 men she had never seen before. Maya described what happened next very precisely when she told this story later. She said her body understood the situation before her brain did. Her legs were moving backward before she'd consciously decided to leave. Something animal and correct taking over. She turned and walked back the way they'd come. Quickly, without running, because some part of her understood that running would change things. She could hear Wayan behind her saying her name, telling her to wait, that she'd misunderstood, that it wasn't what she thought. She didn't look back. She found the road, flagged down a passing truck. The driver, an older man who took one look at her face and didn't ask questions, drove her to the main road and waited with her until she got a taxi back to Ubud. She went to her guest house, locked the door. She never saw Wayan again. She reported it to her guest house owner, who listened carefully, and then said something very quietly, in Balinese, to his wife, who had come to stand in the doorway. He would not translate what he said. What he told Maya was this: you listened to the right part of yourself. Many people don't. She left Ubud the next morning. She finished her trip because she is not someone who lets fear make all her decisions. But she hired only official, agency-registered guides for the rest of it. She still travels, still loves Bali, she says. The real Bali, the parts she saw before that afternoon. But she has thought many times about those 3 men standing at the edge of that clearing with their backs turned, about what they were waiting for, about what the incense was burning for. She has never found an explanation that fully satisfies her. She thinks about the guest house owner's words most of all. You listened to the right part of yourself. The terrifying implication being, of course, that there is a wrong part, a part that would have stayed, a part that would have wanted to see what happened next, a part that Wayan had been carefully, patiently cultivating all day long,